Also, one of the things with people starting off with running, so the first thing they look at is the shoes. So you told us now how to approach that first part. How much does shoes matter initially?
Yeah, this is a good topic. So there's an overemphasis that the shoes play in a risk of injury. There's no definitive recipe to get the shoes to choose a running shoe that is going to prevent injuries. So that's why in all those they say anti-pronation shoes prevent for most people, but we do know it's not a very small amount of people do need some structure in their shoes. So that's a metric that has become less applicable in selecting running shoes, especially for people starting off with. The one metric that does seem to have some stronger, I think it's the metric that has the strongest evidence. It's not perfect, but it's the best metric to go by for what we have to select a shoe that will run and try and help you reduce the risk of injury, let's rather say it like that, is comfort while running in the shoe. Now, the reason for that is based on very good studies that they did, but the reason for that is that the body is adapted to move in a certain way. We refer to it as your preferred movement path. So you are designed, and at this stage, even if you start running, the body always selects the path of least resistance. And then it's used to run, it's going to follow that path, and the body is going to be conditioned in that path. If you put a shoe on that complements this preferred movement path, meaning it fits into the pattern perfectly, you can run your normal stride, there's path of least resistance that your body selects at this stage, then it's going to feel quite comfortable because you're going to forget you wear a shoe. If the shoe is uncomfortable, then it means there's a bit of a disruption. It might load a structure that hasn't been conditioned to running more to running, and it will be overloaded very easily. So that's the mechanism that they think where shoes play a part in injuries. One good variable that we see a lot is the change on heel to toe drop. So the heel to toe drop, there's a difference with most shoes, the height of the heel and the height of the forefoot. So that's usually 8 mils, 10 mils. 8 mils is usually the most road running shoes are around about there. If you make a sudden change from, let's say, 8 mils to a 0 drop shoe that has flat sole, the heel and the forefoot is at the same height, now suddenly your calf is at a little bit of a lengthened position, the calf and the Achilles. It hasn't been adapted to do to run at this specific length. So now it might be that every time when you run a certain distance, it reaches its threshold a lot earlier because the length of the calf you haven't been adapted to use and contract at that 8 times body weight impact forces. And then Achilles starts getting angry with you, get a bit of a calf strain and so forth. So the heel to toe drop is a good example. So getting back to your question is, what do we do? So I suggest people that come in for an assessment, and I said, if there's nothing major going on, certain flags popping up, and we have to look at foot biomechanics that might need a further investigation or maybe some sort of structure in the shoe, I say, here's a list of 5 shoes. You can even go to the running store and select 5 shoes, put them on, run in them in the store, and the one that stands out in terms of comfort, that's the shoe that you go with. That's the best metric for a beginner to choose